And so, this morning I went to the doctor's surgery to have a regular blood test. And whilst I was standing in the waiting room, there was about 3 old folk in there. And then there was an elderly woman strolled in, about 80 years old, and she said, morning. And I said to her, is that good morning or bad morning? And she looked out the window, she went, bad morning. And I went, well, it's all frame of mind, you know, and perspective. And she went, yeah, well, when you've got days like this, and I said, I get what you're saying, but I've just been experiencing moments of joy, which I have every single day. I'm very fortunate not to be stricken with any depression. At least not this time in my life. You know, the dark night of the soul I was. But so I said to her, you know, I look at the world and I'm smiling all the time and I'm laughing. And she says, why? And I said, well, the joy and the absurdity of it. And she went, oh, you know, I'll get you on that one. And then what I'd done is I'd been standing in this surgery waiting room, and I'd noticed something. Now, directly in front of me, of us all, is this old style wall clock. And it's a round one, it's got a round wooden surround, and it's got Roman numerals. And the time was 9:25. And as I was looking straight to the clock, on the left hand side, in the centre of the room, as a divide, was the old fireplace, because this is an old listed building. A big old huge mahogany or oak fireplace, you know, with a big mantelpiece and everything. And above it there's a large mirror. So I looked in the mirror and I could see the reflection of the wall clock as I looked at an angle in the mirror. And as I looked in the mirror, and I saw the clock on the wall, and it said 3:25. So the time was 9:25, but because I was looking at it through the mirror, I was getting the 180 degree of presentation back to me. So I said, look, here's a curious thing. Is it any wonder why the world is like it is? And people have so many differences. Because it's all about perception from whatever vantage you are standing at, or whatever vantage your heart or your mind or your your consciousness is. You see, but they didn't really, you know, get the philosophical angle I was coming at. You know, because when you say perspective to most people, they just mean, well, you're standing over there and I'm standing over here, but we both see the same clock. No, you're not getting it. It's a metaphor, it's perspective on life, people. But anyway, they couldn't follow me on that one, but I did extract something useful. And so I said, one clock, it stays 9:25, and on the other clock, 25 minutes to 3. And if it was the case that I didn't know what time it was, and let's just say I was in a state of somnambulism and I just gained my senses and I was looking in the mirror at the reflection of the wall clock and I saw it said 3:25, well, that would be my perspective, wouldn't it? That would be my reality. But you see, if I was otherwise compos mentis and I wasn't in somnambulism, then I would know that I'm looking in the reflection of the mirror, and the real time is on the wall there, and it's 9:25. So what I'm saying here is, people, that how many people realise that they are not in a dream, or realise that they are in a dream, or realise that they've just come out of a dream, they've just woken up. Now, why this is so important is because as spiritually awakened people, when we wake up, metaphorically speaking, we then know simultaneously that the time is, in actual fact, 25 past 9 and 25 minutes to 3. Now you could say that no, Aaron, the time is 25 past 9 in our reality, people. In our conscious everyday reality, there is a general consensus that the clock on the wall is telling the truth and the clock in the mirror isn't telling the truth. You see? But you see, this is where the divide comes into play, because our mental construct, our state of consciousness, whether we are awoken or whether we're asleep, depicts how we see the world. You follow me on this, people? So both of those realities are a reality, depending on who is looking. And I said, because this bloke, there's an old bloke sitting next to the old woman, and he was, contesting, what I was saying, because he didn't really grasp the magnitude or breadth of what I was inferring. I was trying to, entice him into a philosophical conversation, but most people you can't. And I suppose you could with some people if you paved the way first, and if they knew they was entering into a philosophical conversation. But how many people just start talking to you in the doctor's surgery about the nature of the supernatural, philosophical, existing dimensions and all this sort of thing. And so when we look at that, it's kind of like, well, how many other areas of my life could I be deceived? Most humans would, quickly cotton on that. Hang on, the clock in the mirror is not the truth. It's true in one respect that it's a mirror reflection which gives us an opposite, a 180. It gives us that, and we know that. And it's kind of a bizarre phenomenon, because when you stand in the mirror, people, and you look at yourself, let's say just like I do, for instance, and any of you guys that have got tattoos or birthmarks or something like that, well, you would know that you have certain tattoos on your right arm and certain tattoos on your left arm. But when you look at yourself in the mirror, everything is opposite. And you go, that's bizarre. There is actually a mirror reflection. There's a mirror entity of me from another world which has tattoos on the other arm. And you could say to yourself, well, no, that's not the case, because what you're looking at is a direct image of yourself. But it isn't a direct image of ourselves, because the perspective has changed. And so one minute I'm standing here, and the next minute I'm standing here. And in my rational, logical mind, that must mean then that what I'm seeing would be exactly the same, because I'm exactly the same here as I am exactly the same here. Right, if I look at my arm here and I follow my way round, well, the tattoos don't change arms. But when you stand in front of a mirror, they do change arms, people. And so that's something to contemplate. And it's a phenomenon which is unexplainable. It really isn't explainable. It's just one of those things that just happens, And that's always perplexed me. And I've stood in the mirror, a whole myriad of times, and I've looked at this, and I've gone, well, yeah, it's very, very strange. Anyway, I guess you're thinking about things. And so I started to speak then about, I wonder what other areas are we deceived in? What other areas do we perceive to be something which isn't actually a reality? Like the tattoos on one arm in the mirror, and the timepiece showing a different time in the mirror. Well, what other scenarios in life could we conjoin with a simile of like the mirror reflection. Where else could we be deceived like that? Well, of course, with mirages. There's apparitions. How many people, when they see a car accident, give starkly different stories and events of what happened? The blue car hit the red car, and then the guy from the red car got out and thumped the guy in the blue car, and then someone says, these two white cars hit, or maybe wasn't that so extreme. They'd say that the red car hit the blue car instead of the blue car hitting the red car, and then maybe the guy got out and he had 3 kids with him, and he started screaming, at the woman driving. There's all these different sorts of things. And there used to be a comedian called Jasper Carrott in Britain, and he got hold of all of these insurance reports, and the amount of discrepancy and the bizarre, peculiar things that people said, which couldn't have been true. There could only have been one accident which took place in the so-called consensus reality. But we don't have a consensus reality, really, do we? We have a conglomerate of individuated creations of reality. And so we all see things differently. And Lord knows why we get things wrong, like the red car hit the blue car, when in actual fact the blue car hit the red car. But even when you're asking people for directions, and I was asking a man yesterday, and I said, could you tell me where this surgery is? And he started to think, okay, so you go down here and you turn, and he's going like this. And he was holding up his left hand. And I said, left? Yeah, left. And on many other occasions when I've been asking for directions, people have held up their right arm and pointed, and they've said, you turn left. And I said, you mean right? Oh yeah, right. And so people just get massively confused, don't they? When they can't even compute whether they're speaking about their left arm or their right arm. And so it's almost like they don't even know that they're standing in front of a mirror. Because if they're standing in front of a mirror, their left arm would be the right arm, and vice versa. And so how do people get so confused about all these things? Is there really one reality here? No, there's not. There is just an invention of a reality by the trillions of shards of consciousness. So, anyway, started speaking to this woman, and I said, look, is it any wonder why we've got so much diversity? Take politics, for instance. You've got some people who, vehemently support one party and another vehemently support the other, when really there's very little difference in any of them. Why is it? What happens? Is it because their families have always been Republicans, so they're going to be Republicans, even though the Republicans now are more like the Democrats and the Democrats are more like the Republicans, and yet people can't see that, or they can't feel it in their hearts, and they can't make that transition. My father, my grandfather, my grandfather's grandfather, we all were Republicans. It seems to be a thing with some people, and it's always going to be that, and they can never just listen to the policies of individual parties. But then this woman says to me, she says, well, the parties are always lying in any case. And so, with the advent of AI, very, very soon we're never going to know what is true and what is not. And I'm like, this woman is 80 years old and she's speaking some truth here, people. And so I engaged with her further. And I said, well, okay, yeah. I mean, but aside from the politicians, because they're all lying, because basically when they offer us choices of parties, they're both the left wing and right wing of the same bird. And they've got the same policies. She says, absolutely. But they tell us all one thing and then they do another. And I says, but the masses seem to believe in it. And she says, well, I don't think they do, but they act as if they do. And this is kind of like what Jordan Peterson says when he is asked, does he believe in God? He says, I act as if I do. And then if he asks you, do you believe in God? And you say, no, I'm an atheist. He'll say, well, you think you are, but really, the way you act, is indicative of all the the commandments and all of the policies of Jesus. You act righteously, and your conscience tells you to act righteously. So therefore, there's something that is adhering to the so-called God commandments, if you want to consider them to be God's commandments and not human commandments. But of course, the human commandments projected onto God. And so I said, isn't it bizarre? When you've got, whole nations of millions of people who know the politicians are lying to them every single day, and yet they'll all flock out to vote. They'll all be glued to whatever politician is saying whatever, and they will all be acting as if they do believe what is being said. And yet if you ask them directly, do you believe that politicians tell you the truth? They'll go, absolutely not. They lie through their fucking teeth. Every time they open their mouths, they lie. And then if you said to them, well, why are you glued to the news and to political debates, and why do you vote? Oh, well, I suppose it's an institution, or, well, what do you got to do? I mean, you got to hope that one of them isn't telling lies all the time. And then you look at the lies that one party's telling, and you look at the lies another party's telling, and then you're usually discerning between those lies, and you go, their lies are worse than their lies, so I'm going to vote for them, and all these different sort of things. So look what's going on in this incredible, mixed up, crazy world we've got going on, where everybody knows that politicians all over the world are lying to us, they're beguiling us, they treat us with a complete and almost contempt, and yet we still afford them their privileges by electing them to be so-called leaders of our nations. It's just so dichotomous, it's so ridiculous, it's so absurd that we really have to question the nature of the human consciousness and their intelligence, don't we? And so there's so much more to be said on this, and I'll doubtless say some more on it. But I'm just going to go into the supermarket, and so when I come out, I'll be speaking some more.